Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News channel. We have a heck of a program lined up for you tonight. Tonight's top stories, well, buckle up because the circus is in town and the clowns are running the show. First up, U.S. Canada tariff talks. Of course, it's the third day of the frantic negotiations in Washington. Trump's threat of a 50% tariff on about $20 billion of Canadian goods is still hanging over us all at midnight like a bad date who won't leave. Cars, steel, aluminum, hockey sticks, wine, basically everything that makes Canada, Canada. Hockey sticks, yeah. Negotiators, we are told, are very close to a deal. I guess the negotiations still ongoing at this hour. Trump says the deal is moving along. Canada's trade minister is shuffling in and out of meetings. It's turning out to be one of the world's most expensive games of chicken, I think, tonight. Except, of course, one side is driving a truck full of maple syrup, and the other is yelling, well, I get to win either way. That's kind of the way Trump operates. Anyway, we've got other stories lined up for you tonight. We're going to be following that through the broadcast tonight. Special edition, Neuralink edition. One of the stories we're going to touch on is the status of Neuralink's new vision technology and telepathy technology. That's also going to tie into our Maverick Midnight Matinee tonight, which will feature a classic, and well, I don't know if it's a classic. I mean, it's a favorite for some. Sci-fi kind of oriented stuff, but also ties directly into the whole Neuralink sentient AI possibilities, consciousness. So we'll see where that goes. And if you are watching, to participate at that time in the Maverick Midnight Matinee, you'll have to jump off YouTube, go over to Rumble or one of our other social media broadcasting platforms, because we don't continue the Maverick Midnight Matinees on YouTube. But that'll come at the end of the news broadcast tonight. And also Trump screaming commie, commie, commies. It's become so common that it's become more of a brand, I think, at this point. I told you. He's they're going to be focusing on that word as they head into the midterm elections. So we're going to wrap up all the anti-communist rhetoric. So we have all of that, plus Pierre Poilievre's leadership still not looking good. He's in trouble, and J.D. Vance has weighed in on the whole conversation that could affect Poilievre's career. So stay with me. We have all that and a whole lot more coming up on the other side of this.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
It's a nasty business, this trade negotiation business. I kind of saw this one coming about 6-8 weeks ago, maybe. Just saw this post just a moment ago. I'm going to share it with you. Nobody else is going to see this, but I think this ties into the 51st state rhetoric and Canada's relationship with First Nations. This talk right here, this reference, this is designed to drive a wedge in between the federal government, First Nations. I'll tell you why, too. It says here, Trump calls out Canada's border failures in USMCA talks, a multi-billion dollar illicit cigarette trade. Up to 50% of sales in some provinces runs through porous areas and feeds the same networks moving fentanyl, weapons, etc. Yeah, Ottawa has ignored the issue. Apparently, that's the post accompanying the apparent comment. This ties into recent reports that I've seen highlighting smuggling, cross-border smuggling involving First Nations, particularly in Ontario, because of the Great Lakes, and smuggling cigarettes and weapons and things like that. And it is a real issue, but it's been an ongoing thing back and forth across the border for, well, probably since before Confederation, but certainly since and for decades. It's a serious issue, but to be highlighting it in this way, and the reports that I saw about 6 weeks ago from one journalist of sorts, he was making this out to be like a huge organized crime thing and maybe even a national security issue of sorts for the United States. It all ties into it's just more political rhetoric, and the reporting, I think, was it just smacked of possible and probable foreign interference from the U.S. side ahead of these negotiations and as part of Trump's ongoing 51st state ambitions. So what's going on with the trade talks tonight? Well, we have these trade talks that are apparently moving along, according to Trump, as the clock ticks down hard on a major tariff deadline, a deadline that, just arbitrarily imposed by Trump. Tacoed out on Tuesday. He did. And now we're facing another deadline of 12:01 a.m. tonight. 50% tariffs may be coming. I don't know. It's all very dramatic, isn't it? A huge roller coaster. Trump told reporters earlier today the negotiations are progressing and that his team has a good relationship with Canadian Prime Minister Carney. He said, "I only make good deals. We should be able to have a deal with Canada." So here's the situation. If no agreement is locked in by 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. is set to slam a 50% tariff on roughly $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, everything from dairy and alcohol to furniture and more. We don't even really manufacture that much furniture in Canada anymore. Most of that industry was lost decades ago. Canadian Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc has been in Washington for these talks, intensified trade talks, ongoing even at this hour with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer. And after a long meeting yesterday, LeBlanc said the two sides were very close, but more work was still needed. So they're back at it tonight, third straight day and now night of negotiations. And this whole thing stems from months of tariff back and forth jockeying, and Trump has already hit Canadian steel, aluminum. It autos hard. Canada hit back. Some provinces banned American booze, as you know. That gave the Canadian negotiators some leverage. Now both sides are scrambling to strike a deal that could ease some of those duties and reopen markets. And of course, it's going to go right down to the wire. It has to, because it's all about the optics. It's a big show. At least that's what it appears to be to me. Will they get it done before the midnight deadline? Stay tuned. The roller coaster ride, the drama, the suspense continues through the evening. Trump sounds optimistic. The Canadian side says they're close, but as of this hour, nothing is finalized. And if you are watching other networks, news broadcasts, all day long on the Canadian side, the pundits have been weighing in, the commentators, and everything I'm hearing is, well, this could be happening, that could be happening. Sources say we don't really know. We don't have the deal. It could fall apart at the last minute, or it could be extended again. Maybe we'll get another pause on the tariffs. Who the heck knows? At the end of the day, I don't really personally think it matters if we hit the deadline tonight or not. I think the negotiators will try to do that, certainly on the Canadian side. But even if we don't, so, I mean, maybe the tariffs will come in, but they're not going to stick because a deal will be struck. And I am very confident of that. I've been saying for a long time that when Trump has been saying that the U.S. doesn't need Canada, he is full of crapola. We really do have leverage. We do have a lot that the United States wants. Oil being one, critical minerals being another, water being another. And we do have cross-border water agreements, water rights agreements with the U.S. in some places where it's very critical to the United States, communities on the other side of the border to, have secure access to water that flows from Canada across the border into the U.S. We have all of those resources, plus manufacturing does matter. What are you talking about? They don't care if we sell them. And oh, yes, it's not about what we sell to the United States. It's about what we buy from the United States. If that hasn't become very apparent to you, just from observing what's happened with the no Kuzma, no Buzma issue, right? The concerns about U.S. booze being removed from Canadian liquor store shelves in some provinces that are on Team Canada. Not every province is on Team Canada, apparently, but that has given Canada leverage. But it is not just booze. It's also automobiles. Well, no, they're much bigger than us, Rick, and it can't be. No, it matters to them. I actually told you this. Oh my gosh, it's got to be 2-3 months ago now. And I've got the stats to back it up. Canada is crucial, vital to the U.S. auto industry. Without Canada, they pretty much don't have an auto industry. Do you know why? Because they don't export that many cars from the United States anymore. They just don't. This is not the 1950s or the 1960s. In those days, the United States, the Ford, GM, Chrysler, American Motors, those companies dominated, baby. The big three, Ford, GM, Chrysler in particular. So you go back to the 50s and 60s, and it was a whole different story. They had like 95% of the U.S. domestic auto market, focused very much on that. They never really became terribly serious for a long time about exporting vehicles, but even then they did. They were very dominant. You go back to the dawn of the auto industry and creation of the auto industry. And yeah, it was a totally different game back then. But it's not the 1950s anymore. I've got some stats here to show you. Top 10 passenger car exporting countries. I made up a graph for you. Where do U.S. exported cars go? And who exports the most cars? The United States does not export much. I mean, they do, but they're not the top dog, not even close. Germany, about 3 times more vehicles produced and exported, sent out of the country than the United States. Here are the stats. See that big giant red line, 176 billion? That's Germany that exports that many cars every year. China, 110 billion, dwarfing what the United States exports. Japan, 105 billion. South Korea exports more cars than the United States does, $68.5 billion. Mexico exports more vehicles than the United States, 58.6 billion. The United States, under Mexico, 53.5 billion. Canada is a much smaller country. We don't even get into those kinds of numbers. You stick with me. I'm going to come back. I'm going to illustrate more of this on the other side of this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're still keeping a close eye to see if there's any breaking news on the tariff talks. So we'll keep you updated there, but we'll give you a little more background on this. And this is why Canada really does have leverage. A lot of concerns tonight that maybe Mark Carney has not been firm enough. You saw that from Wab Canoe, others weighing in. And, that's a tough job being the prime minister or the president, honestly, because you're a punching bag for a lot of people. A target for criticism, of course, comes with the territory. But nevertheless, Canada does have leverage. It's not just about how the United States is not the world's major it's just, I think, what other countries are sort of in that league with the United States? I got some notes up here. Okay, so the United States, I think it's like Czech Republic produces about as many cars for export as the U.S. You have, let me just double check these stats. Yeah, so now the U.S. does produce a lot of vehicles, like second largest vehicle producer in the world, but after China, but they don't export nearly as many as other countries do. So as a result of that, Canada is hugely important because do you know which country purchases the vast majority of the cars produced in the United States for export? Canada. Yes, that is right. So out of the 50 billion produced for export, Canada purchases, we Canadians, Kanakistanians, purchase over $12 billion worth here domestically ourselves. Germany, 7.8 billion, just a little more than half of what Canada purchases. Mexico only buys 3.96 billion. So you want to talk about a trade deficit? The U.S. has a massive trade deficit with Mexico when it comes to vehicles. If you're looking at value for consumers, that might not be an issue. If you're looking at it through the economic lens of Trumpianism or Trumponomics, then you're looking at it through in a totally different way. But the UAE, 3 billion, China, about 2.27 billion. And then other countries, all the other countries combined out there make up the rest. But Canada, 12 billion. So what would happen if this whole thing fell apart and then Canada just said, that's it, then fine, screw it. No more vehicles from the United States to be sold in Canada. Just block the border. You don't want to deal with us. You say you don't need us. Shut it all down. That would take like a huge chunk out of U.S. auto production. It would throw everything into a tizzy. The supply chains would be completely disrupted. Canada, the United States, completely integrated, working together since the beginning of the auto industry, building it up together, parts flowing back and forth across the border to supply assembly facilities on both sides. You just cut that off. The U.S. auto industry completely disrupted, everything thrown into massive chaos, disarray. And and it would be very difficult to maintain the volume of sales or the economies of scale, production systems that they have down there. It would cripple it very quickly. And it would take a lot of time even to just fix the problem so they could continue to produce. And this is the reason Canada kind of holds so much leverage. Nobody wants, like, I shouldn't say nobody, but the United States, you travel around the world and you go down to, I was just in Costa Rica a couple of years ago, right? 2-3 years ago. You don't see any American made cars there. Some, but the majority are European, Japanese, Korean. Those are the brands, and stuff from Mexico. That's what sells. The United States, they have a quality issue reputation. The models don't really sell in other countries. They're not in demand. So you go to Europe, Trump's complained about it. These countries, they don't buy any American automobiles. Yeah, because Canadians have been told it's your own damn fault because you've been relying, you should have been, shouldn't have put yourself in this position. Well, the United States shouldn't have put themselves in this position either, where they're actually very reliant on Canada. We're both reliant on each other. That's why we need a deal that benefits both sides, that's mutually beneficial. But Trump never sees things through that lens. He only sees a zero-sum game where if you're gaining anything, then he must be losing, or that's his mentality. And that's how all of these negotiations have been predicated. We will have to see where it ends up tonight. A lot of it is performative, though. A lot of drama. And it's going to go right down to the wire. You mark my words. I bet you, even when we get to like 10, maybe around 10, you might have something. It's just more dramatic if you leave it until right to the end, right? Then you get the most ratings. Trump's all about the ratings, right? Yeah, so here's Justin Trudeau, the guy who was around when Trump negotiated Kuzma originally, being asked about this tonight. And I know that he's all of our favorite, everybody thinks Trudeau is like the best prime minister ever, right? Well, let's hear what he had to say over on the state broadcaster, CBC.
I had the opportunity and the challenge a number of years ago of renegotiating NAFTA. And the reason we got to a good deal was because Canadians were strong, Canadians were united. I see Canadians right across the country strong and united again about standing up for our country and our values, and I know that's going to help the government get to the right place.
But will we get to the right place? I don't know. The suspense is killing me. How about Elizabeth May, Green Party? There's another lefty for you. Oh, but she's not alone. You'd be surprised who else is over on the left tonight. I'll tell you about that. Here's Elizabeth May, Canadian Green Party.
I just add there's a sharp difference in tone between two, both in the same party, New Democratic Party premiers. And Wab Kinew, Premier of Manitoba, is urging stand strong. We don't want to necessarily put U.S. alcohol back on the shelves if we don't get anything in return. BC has suffered, and Premier Eby has ignored the threats to their forest products. They haven't been paying attention, and at the same time, they've been playing the game of shipping fossil fuels out of this province, fracking, which causes more greenhouse gas emissions than coal, and allowing a multinational coalition of Asian and U.S. fossil fuel companies to run what supposedly, they call it LNG Canada. There's nothing Canadian about it. So it's about time that British Columbians asked the Premier of BC why he isn't doing the job for British Columbians that we see Wab Kinew doing for Manitobans. I just add there's a
Everybody's weighing in. Everybody's saying this and that and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think anybody really knows. We're not going to know until we know. But it's nice to, the suspense is suspenseful, and it's building ratings. You're all here watching this. I'm here talking about it. So I guess we're falling into the trap too, but you almost have to, because it is the dominant story tonight, the tariffs. But the thing about Trump is, I think when it comes to economics, he's kind of a wackadoodle. He he says he's on the side of farmers, ranchers. I don't get it. Here he is again tonight, making an exception to tariffs on incoming imported beef. He says they want to get beef prices down. Fair enough. So how's he going to do it? He has made an exception tonight. And how much was it? 300,000 pounds or something of ground beef being imported into the United States that will not be tariffed above what quota. So they're allowed to bring in so much, import so much, I guess tariff-free or low tariffs. And then there's a tariff penalty above a certain amount that comes in to the United States. So he's going to allow a massive additional shipment of ground beef to come in to the United States. And he says that'll get the beef prices down. Yes, it will, because more supply forces price down. More supply, same amount of demand or more, it results in lower prices. But he says it's going to help beef farmers because they'll be able to replenish their beef stock, which I guess means it's only for 90 days or something. So that means that the ranchers are going to sell less beef because of increased competition from imports, and that's supposed to help the farmers. The reason that makes no sense. Here he is. Here's the tariff guru.
On beef imports is upsetting some ranchers, as well as some Republicans are asking you to delay that move on imports.
Well, we want to get the beef prices down, so we'll get them down a little bit. And that's what people want. That's what the voters want. And that's what I want. The ranchers are great. They're my people. I love the ranchers. They've done a fantastic job. But they admit that we need a little help and in order to get the prices down. So that's what we're doing.
Which country on beef imports is
I don't think so. Maybe he's got some Republican-friendly ranchers out there who will say whatever he wants them to say, but no, the prices are the prices. It's a commodity. The market is what the market is. If they're charging whatever the going rate is, and they're struggling and complain, like bring in more imported beef. That puts pressure on your domestic producers. So that means American farmers, ranchers, will have to do with less because of increased competition. But he was all about the tariffs, right? Isn't he about the tariffs? He wants to keep the tariffs on. He put the tariffs on. Well, that forced prices up. Now the prices are up. Oh my God, that's an admission. The tariffs result in inflation. So what's he doing to rectify the inflation? He's pausing the tariffs on imported beef to increase. The guy is nuts. It's on again, off again, brake on, gas on, brake and gas at the same time. Then no gas, no brake, then all brake, just back. You never know. 25%, 50%, 10%, 15%. And a lot of this stuff is not even done for economic reasons. J.D. Vance just said a couple of days ago in an interview that I think it actually was that speech that he gave, said that the real goal is not economic, that they want Canada to change its behavior. They want the Canadian government to change its behavior. That's what most of this is really about. That's why Trump's on again now about the cross-border smuggling of cigarettes. That's First Nations stuff. That's been going on for a long time. That's because of taxation on tobacco. And we haven't ignored it. I mean, it's there. I suppose a lot more could have been done to crack down on it, but that's a more difficult thing to deal with when you're dealing with First Nations and sovereign territory. And a lot of people looking the other way, just like they did back in the Prohibition era when the rum runners were running stuff across the border, including right there at Windsor, Detroit, home of the new Gordie Howe Bridge, controversial in itself, of course. And then, back in those days, even RCMP and cops and the U.S. side, the authorities over there, a lot of people being paid off to get the booze back and forth. And in fact, the booze industry, I think on both sides of the border, certainly on the Canadian side, built up during the era of Al Capone and Prohibition. Yeah, and this whole thing with J.D. Vance. It's all political, man. Like even these trade talks and Jamil Javani, the backbencher MP rookie, who really friend of J.D. Vance, you may recall, he went down to Washington to meet with Vance, in a bid to, I think, embarrass Mark Carney, which to some degree he sort of did, saying, remember, he said, Donald Trump loves the Canadian people. He loves you. I met with Donald Trump and he said that he loves you. We want to just make me puke right now. It was just so, I was like, no, you're handpicked. This guy's been handpicked by the U.S. administration, by the MAGA administration to do something up here. He's doing their bidding, carrying water for them. Here he is in this photo with J.D. Vance, and then Vance coming out. And he's like, in the speech the other day, he referred to Poilievre as a non-entity, not a factor in the trade negotiations, then turns around. Okay, so Jamil Javani's trip to Washington served two purposes. One, to embarrass Mark Carney and the Liberal government and say, well, somebody's got to come down here and get her done. It was also to embarrass the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre. because Jamil Giovanni, I'm telling you, has been handpicked just like J.D. Vance by political powers that be in the back rooms, in the shadows, the puppet masters, if you will, the people who influence politics through donations and political organizations and the party systems. These two guys, they're both handpicked. For exactly what purpose, I don't know. Vance maybe to become president after Trump. Jamil Giovanni maybe now becoming increasingly apparent that he wants Poilievre's job, which is exactly what I said when he went down there. And now J.D. Vance reinforcing all of that with that speech that he gave, I think it was 2 days ago now, saying Poilievre has been a non-entity, but Jamil Giovanni went down there to meet with him because he said he cared about Canada and Canada getting a good deal. And then J.D. Vance went on to criticize Mark Carney, saying that Carney was puffing up his chest, trying to out-tough Donald Trump. I haven't seen that. I've seen a very professional, measured approach, not negotiating in public, not saying a whole heck of a lot, a couple of jabs taken at Trump near the end as the negotiations were getting into this final leg this week, minor things. But I did not see at any time from Mark Carney any kind of bombastic, arrogant, tough guy act at all. He's been very, very careful about everything that he has been saying. I've been illustrating that for you, saying he can't really criticize Trump. He's been leaving that to Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and Wab Kinew now, the point man, on saying nasty things about Trump because they can get away with it. They can take the booze off the shelves on the Canadian side to get Canada some leverage. Carney can't really do stuff like that. The federal government can't take those kinds of punitive actions because then they will be blamed sitting at the table and will be held personally responsible for the unfair, nasty, retaliatory tariffs. That's not fair for Canada to defend itself. They have plausible deniability. It wasn't us. It's the provinces. We'll go back and ask them, they say, if they'll put the booze back on the shelves. I'm pretty sure we can get them to do it, but it's a tough thing for us. We're not responsible. We have to go back and consult with them. And then it becomes a big show yesterday, right? Wab Kinew saying, well, maybe we should, but I don't really want to. And you can't get a good deal with a bad person. Which is true. Everything he said was true. And it was absolutely true when he said that a lot of this is going on because Trump wants to keep changing the channel because he's being handed L's, losses. He's a big loser. It's becoming more and more apparent. He's looking for a win. And so every time he gets another loss, he changes the channel so that you don't look at right now the war in Iran, which has turned sour. He's trapped over there. So he doesn't want people paying attention to that. And that war was started because of other things, other problems that he's facing, which are resulting in him tanking in the polls. Things like, the Epstein files.
They both look clean, but the guest list redacted, if you know what I mean. systems. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another news spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
Yeah. What a difference a day can make. What a difference even a couple of election cycles can make. It's amazing how fast the U.S. debt is climbing. This is another reason Trump needs Canada. That's why he wants to take us over, is because the United States is so far in debt. $40 billion now. I reported that last night, commented on it. $40 trillion debt, not deficit. They keep adding to the debt because they keep running deficits in the trillions of dollars. And it hasn't taken long to get to 40 trillion from what Trump at one point called the point of no return. Maybe you remember him talking about this when he started running for president. And he said back at that time that 24 trillion was the point of no return, at which point the United States and its economy would be unsalvageable.
Because we really do have to get going. Because if we have another 3 or 4 years, we're at 18 trillion now. We're soon going to be at 20 trillion. According to the economists, who I'm not big believers in, but nevertheless, this is what they're saying, that 24 trillion, we're very close. That's the point of no return. $24 trillion. We will be there soon. That's when we become Greece. That's when we become a country that's unsalvageable. And we're going to be there very soon. We're going to be there very soon. Make America. Because
way past it. 40 trillion dollars. Why? Military spending, mostly. It's expensive to run the world. And Trump has said that, right? He said, I can do whatever I want. I'm basically running the world. He has said that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's really what he has said. And in order to maintain your grip on the world, you need a massive military. He's pulling back. That's even worse, because you're not going to be able to pay off your debt if you become less than the dominant country in the world. If you contract inward, you no longer have the world reserve currency. I'm just saying this is the reason he's taking these expansionist measures. See, military spending costs a lot of money to build those weapons, especially today, because they're all so high tech. The U.S. military losing a lot of ground to, much cheaper weapons that make the highest tech weapons vulnerable. Now he wants to build the Golden Dome. And I think they're looking at putting that into production as early as, I think it's a year and a half from now, starting to build that thing out. That's huge expenditure. But just like Germany heading into World War II, after building up its military with deficit financing, which was done covertly so that other countries couldn't see that they were violating the restrictions that were placed on Germany after World War II. That kind of spending is not economically productive. Weapons have basically one purpose, defense, and the only thing you can really use them for is to blow stuff up and kill people. That's what they do. So if you have built your entire economy, or like the bulk of your economy, with military spending, which is what the military industrial complex has done largely for the United States, that drives, it's a major economic driver for the US, maybe the biggest, because so much is spent every minute of every day on it. At some point, you need some payback on the investment. Military spending doesn't pay back, unless, of course, you go and take over other countries and use your might that way, or you use the military strength to exert pressure on other countries to give you what you want, whether it's to just take stuff or get them to give you a better deal. This is why, that's one of the reasons Germany launched the Second World War. At least that's a solid argument for it. And I see exactly those same things happening right now. The United States deep in debt. And one of the things that's driving this march toward a one world government, this certainly not so much a one world government, I guess, in real terms, but well, it could be, is where we could end up quite easily, but carving the world up into spheres of dominance, Trump wanting to take over, everything from Greenland to Central America, Panama, and everything, maybe even south of that, make it all American, make everything stars and stripes, as you've seen. That's because if he can do that, then all the wealth from all of those other countries, including like Canada, are you kidding me? The wealth that he could extract from Canada to pay off that debt, that's the expansionism, while at the same time claiming that he's contracting. So 18 trillion is what he was at when he was making that speech some years ago. I'm not sure what year that was. So you're going back probably to like 20, just in the campaign, first time around. So 18 trillion. Now we're more than double that. And he was saying 24 trillion was the point of no return, unsalvageable. Now they're at $40 trillion. And you wonder why he's so focused on oil. Maybe you're not wondering, but a lot of people are like, well, why is he doing all this? He's such a good guy. Yeah, Natalie Harp seems to think he's a really good guy. The letters from her circulating, I don't know how they're getting these things, but leaked out. Here's one of the gushiest and the I think the most embarrassing for the Trumpster. Shall we read Natalie's, well, should I call it a love letter? Well, she certainly loves the guy. I don't know if some people really ripping into this. I don't know. You can assess for yourself. Dear Mr. President, I'm sorry I thought I was the only one left behind that night and had no idea Margot's car was also pulled over and sent back to the airport. Since I was alone in the van outside customs without my passport, I panicked and should have just called Secret Service instead of you. I am sorry if I was an embarrassment walking the course in Scotland. The first day I was told there were no carts and people walked, which is why I walked. The second day, I was specifically asked by, I forget who his name was, but one of the main people who worked there, if I could continue walking and to tell any other girls who would head out there to do the same to spare the course any more carts. If there's anything else I've done to cause you trouble, please forgive me. I know that some people have said I haven't been texting them back, and there have been some international cell issues. John was having technical issues on the plane too, so asked me to help him out. I want things to always be right between us. I also know I've been distracted all week, forgetting to eat throughout the days and even forgetting to sleep and only catching a couple hours at a time. I haven't been myself, dwelling on the past and the pain of losing my dad, and I started letting the remarks of people who haven't bothered me before get to me. Not because I care what others think, but because I see myself being lowered in your eyes. and good opinion. That is the fear you see, because I never wanted to bring you anything but joy. I'm sorry I lost my focus. You are all that matters to me. I don't want to ever let you down. Thank you for being my guardian and protector in this life. That's what I wanted to use this card for. When you saw me at the cash register, and once again did what you didn't have to do and gifted me with the mementos of this trip of a lifetime, a coming of age. I will return a better person. I have to sign off now as the cars are leaving. See you soon. With all my heart, Natalie. I didn't even want to touch on this story, but it's everywhere, especially tonight. And it's a touchy subject for Mr. Trump, who seems to be very embarrassed by it. And it's a trigger point, a trigger period for the Trump supporters, a lot of them who are like losing their minds every time this issue is mentioned. You can read that letter a few different ways. It goes beyond business, though, doesn't it? Certainly does. It's very personal. I don't know. What are you guys thinking about that in the chat? Thinking, what's that? Pro-immune. Yes, now I will require a barf bag. And Ian Dragon, he's got the green emergency light flashing in the chat. Elf Support says, I guess Rick doesn't realize J.D. Vance is more pro-Russian than Trump. Oh, I'm aware that he's very pro-Russian. Yeah, in many respects, I would say that's probably true, Elf. Yeah. Yeah, and Stoic Teacher, point of no return. Yeah, went by that quick. Isn't that amazing? That's because of the interest, right? That's one of the reasons he's so... Vicky Gould, oh my God, gag me, yeah. Well, yeah, the interest rates, like every percentage point, even every like 10th of a percentage point, it has a huge impact on the interest payments that the federal government has to pay. But anyway, we can talk more about that another night. The thing about this Natalie Harp thing, it isn't even so much the relationship between the two of them that makes me just scratch my head. It's her. It's like she's there by his side, but she doesn't seem like he really, maybe this is why she likes him so much. I don't know, because he doesn't treat her well, because he leaves her behind, but then picks her up and carries her, but then she's not really by his side. So she's at the golf course in Scotland. Everybody else who matters in Trump's circle with him that day, they're all riding on carts, but she doesn't get a cart. So she's like, where's Mr. Trump? Where's the president? He wants me. Somebody tells her, no, people are just walking the course. You have to walk. Oh, okay, we'll all walk. But, and I think she was being singled out because she was seen scurrying all over the course, trying to keep up with the golf carts. And so she's like, I'm over here. I can picture it in my mind, what she must have been going through. And it's awful because she would be in this like frenzied state thinking that she has to catch up. She has to be with the president. She has to be by his side, but she can't because she has to walk. And then she embarrasses him because she's trying to do the right thing, but she can't, and not living up to his expectations. And it's because she's trying too hard. Why is she trying too hard? You have to decide for yourself why. But if you're so determined to just keep yourself joined at the hip that you're going to climb into the trunk, I'm kind of like, you have to have some self-respect, okay, Natalie? Like, just maybe try this. Demand a vehicle. Say, look, I'm the president's personal assistant. Get me a damn car and get it now. Or I'll have him unleash Pete Hegseth's testosterone rage on you. I don't know. It's all very odd. It is odd, I have to say. I don't think Caroline Leavitt writes Trump letters like that. I just don't think it's a different kind of relationship. That's for sure. Stick with me, folks. Let's go surfing.
Maverick News. The new wave in news. Donate at maverickthenations.com.
Still status quo, still getting closer to the deadline. What's going to be 50% tariffs on the destruction, the death of Canada as the death tariffs take effect at 12:01 a.m. Or will something happen at the last minute to save our Kanakistanian butts? Who the heck knows? Only one man, the Orange Man, the man of the White House, who's probably up right now with Natalie, truthing on Truth Social. Let's do the Truth Social score. We haven't even done that in a while. Man, we are off our game. I just thought about it. Let's do it right now. Very appropriate. Maybe Trump will. Well, we will be among the last to find out, though, because the first to find out now are the guys on Wall Street who pay $100,000 to have access to his tweets through his truths, not tweets, truths on Truth Social before anybody else, so that they can capitalize on the now rigged stock market, which is controlled by Trump's comments. Let's bring up the Truth account for the El Presidente. I'm getting ready to land in the great state of South Carolina, where I'll be doing a rally in honor of Lindsey Graham for his fantastic sister, Darlene, who, after knowing her for many years, I asked her to run for the United States Senate and take Lindsey's place. See you soon, President Donald J. Trump. Natalie Harp and Caroline Leavitt, incredible patriots all the way back in 2021.
New Hampshire, we don't talk about it a lot, but there were shenanigans that went on. Hillary Clinton won it only by 2,700 back in 2016. Biden somehow beat even her margin by tens of thousands, even as President Trump gained like over 20,000 votes. What went on in New Hampshire, and what can New Hampshire do to make it secure going forward for 2022 and 2024?
A lot went on in New Hampshire. Let me tell you, Natalie, I am running for federal office here because I want to ensure that the people of my great state have a voice at the state level and at the federal level. In 2020 in New Hampshire, there were more than 200,000 new voter registrations. By the way, we have a population of 1.3 million. So you tell me if that sounds right. We also had a 30% increase in absentee ballots. Of course, the Democrats like to say that was a pandemic precaution, but we know that they use that as a mechanism to get their way. And we also saw in our state anomalies in our voting machines. We did an audit in one town, and the tapes from that machine could not be replicated by any hand count. I know there are great patriots in this state that are actually going and pulling the tallies for every single machine in all 136 towns that use them. I look forward to seeing the report that they've been working so hard to put together, and we're going to bring that to the national level to get to the bottom of what happened in 2020 so we can ensure that it doesn't in 2022 and 2024.
It's so important. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. You know why I say blah, blah, blah? We'll come back to the Truth Social in a moment. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a trend since Trump came down that escalator with regard to rigged elections. And maybe you haven't noticed, but anytime a Republican, conservative, Trump, anyone in the Trump camp, Trump side, MAGA side, whatever, anytime they win, the election is fine. But if they lose, it's rigged. Mike Lindell, just recently, he lost his bid, right, to become a full-fledged politician. And he came out and instantly said it was all rigged, that they cheated. That's the standard. That's just the standard play now. Democrats do it too, but this since Trump, even 1.0 came in, just off the charts. Remember, even during his campaign, the first campaign for him to become president, and people were concerned about it, and he was asked about it during the campaign multiple times. Will you accept the results of the election? And he wouldn't really give a straight answer. Well, maybe, if it's fair, right? And then he won, surprising a lot of people. See, at least, although maybe that was all theater too. Who the hell knows? But yeah, if he loses, it's rigged. If he wins, it's all cool. And that's and all the people around him. I've seen the same thing going on up here in Canada, which never used to see that up here in Canada. Not like this. Even in mayoral races where you see Trump fans who have turned to politics and running off. I've seen it. They lose, and then they're like, they lose like badly, right? We're pulling in like 2% of the vote or something. They're like, it's all rigged. I really got a lot more than that. I probably won. It's a load of crap. Oh, boy. Oh, you see, and Truth Social, they're definitely following what you're about. You see that right there? Volkswagen Golf 1.8 Turbo Power Flex. You know what those things are? And I'll tell you why they're there. Because I was rebuilding the front end of that Volkswagen with your support, by the way. Thank you very much for those of you who helped me out a bit with that. So you helped me cover some of the cost of fixing up the Mav mobile. But the top struts needed, the aftermarket struts don't fit quite the same way as the originals. So you need to put bushings in there. But I didn't buy the bushings. I was looking at bushings, but because I'm such an economizer and living in poverty, because I sit here talking with you guys every night instead of actually going out to make money to pay bills, I'm living in poverty. So I made my own. I used an old hot rod trick and made some out of boat rollers. Maybe I'll show you. Shoot some video and show you what I've done to get the old Mavmobile back on the road and rolling again. What else we got going on here? Okay. Fed's human smuggling profits drop significantly, cuts illegal immigration. Everything's exaggerated with him, though, so take all of it with a grain of salt whenever he's throwing out any kind of numbers. Exclusive fentanyl deaths plunge 22% as Trump White House touts crackdown on deadly. Yeah, that's Fox News. That's now the state broadcaster. On the U.S. side, went from being an opposition to now being the primary messaging platform for MAGA and Trump and OAN, too. Anyway, what else we got going on? Bloomberg, U.S. business activity expands at fastest pace since 2022. What's that about? U.S. business activity grew at its fastest pace in more than 4 years. Stronger demand and a rosier outlook fueled a wave of hiring. Except that we know we lost jobs, government's own stats last month, 23,000, and it was about 100,000 job shortfall overall compared to what they were hoping they would get, because they were hoping to get 800,000 new jobs. Sorry, 80,000 new jobs. So you're about 100,000 short. Also, what was it he was going on about the other day? Yesterday, I think. Oh yeah, the chips, the chips. And there was it was a social media post saying that because of the tariffs, Trump has brought in all kinds of new investment in the chips, meaning like computer chip industry. And it's because of this 100% tariff policy that he brought in. But again, as I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, that isn't really accurate. That's not really what has happened. Because it isn't really what has happened. His claims, exaggeration, and then the pro social media influencers who back him up and, help him puff out his chest. They're out there exaggerating and in some cases lying. Because the original 100% tariff threat with regard to computer chips was basically just a lot of political signaling. That was back in almost exactly a year ago. Those 100% tariffs never came into full effect. There was a narrow 25% Section 232 tariff on certain advanced AI computing chips. And then there were broad exemptions for data centers, research and development, consumer electronics. And then there was a 15% tariff plus something to do with minimum import prices on the key material, the material, the polysilicon that is used to make the chips that was also applied. But in reality, by the time we got to the end of all of this, not the end, but to where we're at today, it's not 100% tariff. There's I think about a 15-20% tariff. And then if they had companies like Apple was one of the ones that did respond to this. If they made an investment in the United States, then they would be exempt from the tariffs. So they wouldn't have to pay them. So you still had chips being imported from other countries, even as companies like Apple they did make some massive investments, but a lot of those investments are the result of what was put into place from the Chips and Sciences Act under the Biden administration, which the Trump administration, the Chips and Science Act brought in by Biden in 2022. And then Trump criticized all that, but then kept most of those things. I think he renamed some of it, but it's all basically still there and in place. And it was the tax breaks, the subsidies, the outright corporate welfare coming from the Biden administration, those policies which Trump kept in order to pay off big corporations in the tech side, that resulted in the investments. So the investments actually started prior to the tariffs, and the tariffs have only resulted in some cases, 15-20% tariffs on chips being imported from mainly Taiwan. So he's claiming that there are these massive trillions and trillions of dollars in new investment flowing into the country, but it's mostly exaggeration. Some truth, but not entirely true, because it's all a show. It's all a show. But see, I know that, over on Truth, they're following you. They're following me. We're all under surveillance in ways that we don't even see because of cookies, right? They know what I'm looking for. They know what I've been looking at online, everything. So, car parts being advertised on Truth Social. Speaking of which, looks like I have an opportunity for Maverick News, possibly for a sponsorship or partnership of some kind. And I don't want to say anything about it. But I did want to mention it to you guys because I these things do come up from time to time, and I have repeatedly turned things down because I don't want the program to be compromised ethically. And I don't want to promote any products that might hurt people or would not be reputable or anything like that. So for various reasons, mostly for journalistic reasons and the ethics around that, I've turned sponsorships down, them saying no to the money, because I don't want to damage or even the reputation of the program or leave ourselves open to unwarranted criticism. saying that you're just saying that because you're being paid. So anyway, this is a company and it looks like they're reputable. I'm looking at it, but before I even do it, I'll be coming back to you and asking probably for your opinion here on the program or the opinion of, some people who are involved behind the scenes in private messages before I agree to anything. Anytime you start doing this stuff, it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm always going to be careful about it. Anyway, that's where we're at tonight. Death tariffs coming up 12:01 a.m. Anything new on the tariff front? Yeah, let me just check in. Do we have a deal? Is it a deal or no deal? How about we just deal a meal? Where's Richard Simmons when you need him? Doesn't look like there's anything new yet. Negotiations still ongoing. Death tariffs at 12:01 a.m. And there is plenty of death going around tonight, unfortunately, tragically, horrifically. More death in Ukraine as Russia launches a new wave of attacks. And once again, I can't believe this. What's Russia bombing in Ukraine tonight? What did they rush? This is just a few hours ago. A big shopping mall. Drone strike. Civilians killed again. Too much death, period. At least 2 people killed there as a result of that. Dozens of others injured as a result of it all. Jason Kenney, former premier of Alberta, commenting on the trade talks.
I heard my former colleague Lisa Raitt saying this is really unhelpful. To be honest, if the Americans are hearing anger about concessions and a desire to double down and fight, well, they're understanding where Canadians are. And I think it's helpful perhaps sometimes to have some good cop, bad cop. You've got the representatives of the government of Canada, and Canada has only one voice. It's the government of Canada down there trying to find an acceptable agreement. I don't think everybody should just shut up and send a message of unqualified, kind of submission. I think that what the Premier of Manitoba is doing is demonstrating that, we are the Americans, the Trump administration were the aggressors. They were the provocateurs. We've been responding pretty reasonably. And by the way, I think his call for Canadians to continue a voluntary boycott of certain U.S. products is entirely reasonable given how we've been treated.
Good cop, bad cop. I keep saying that. I keep saying Carney can't say anything too harsh. The guy sitting at the table can't come out and really say anything nasty about Trump because that would just be the end of everything. So they have to be the good cops. And then you have the bad cops. The bad cops being Canadian consumers who are saying, screw you, we're not going to buy your liquor anymore. Doug Ford prior to that with his comments about we can shut the whole U.S. economy down. We can turn out the lights by cutting off the power. Or now Wab Kinew and his comments about Trump and even his imitation of Trump, which really caught some people by surprise yesterday. Yeah, good cop, bad cop. See? So I say it here, it comes out over there. Oh, but a lot of people don't like Kenny because he says way too much blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
blah 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 blah
Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah.
Maverick News. No blah, blah, blah.
Related to what Jason Kenney said, here's economist Justin Wolfers on the trade talks on CNN.
The president declared early on that he wanted Canada to be the 51st state, whether they wanted it or not. To continue the analogy, he's not really that keen on consent. It turns out that's a terrible way to begin a relationship. And the problem in Canada right now is not what the Canadian government's doing, it's what Canadians are doing. Canadians are going to the store and they're picking up products and they're saying, was this made in the United States or not? And if it's made in the United States, they put it back down. So Mark Carney and the Canadian government can sign any number of trade agreements, but you can't change what's in the heart of Canadians right now. They have an expression up there, elbows up, which is they're sick of being bullied. They don't want to be part of this game anymore. And no matter what trade deals get signed, Canadians don't want to spend time in the United States, for instance. The president...
Yeah. Some Canadians. Not every Canadian. Some people don't care. Some people do. I care. I hope you care. I wish Trump was more respectful. You know who really cares the most? Natalie. But she seems to have some self-esteem problems. Just more on the As the Stomach Turns file. Another letter to the president. Dear Mr. President, shall I read this? It's politics. It's nasty, but it's also entertainment and it's showtime. Dear Mr. President. Now, this is the note I wanted to write, but the apology needed to come first. She's constantly apologizing, this girl. I have learned so much about myself on this trip. I always knew coming home to my roots would be enlightening, but I had no idea how much. For the first time, and I don't know how long, you forced me to unplug. We could be out on the course with no machines and even forget what time it was! Exclamation point. I didn't have to be human printer. Oh my God. Where's my human printer? Get my human printer. Bring her. Kneel before me. It's time to pluck. Oh my God. My human printer. I'll continue. I didn't have to be human printer. I could take time to enjoy good conversation and still get all my work done at the end of the day. In fact, I even had time to take long morning and evening walks to enjoy each sunrise and sunset, though I did forget to eat and sleep. With so much thinking time, I confess it did have a slightly negative effect at times that I know you picked up on, but the end result, I believe, will be worth it. I had no idea how rapidly I was approaching burnout and starting to envy those whose only job seems to be to talk with you and look pretty. Well, maybe that's what the reference to all the other girls was in the other letter. I want that job, she says, with 2 exclamation points. So she wants the job where all she has to do is talk to the president and look pretty. I bet the conversations are stimulating. So many times I'm just trying to stay afloat with all that's coming in for you. I look like, oh, this girl, lady, woman. Self-esteem issues. I look like a hunchback who didn't have time to freshen up. At least you know what I should look like. Plus, I miss the days when you used to call during my talk show days, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. I want to get back to that synergy. We shouldn't have to talk about work all the time. I've always felt like an in-betweener. An in-betweener. Marriage wrecker. Yeah. Somewhere between staff and those you enjoy talking to on the plane or at dinner, because that's who I used to be to you when I was a talk show host, as much as I hated that actual job. I wish I could hear every conversation, because that's when you're having a good time, getting away from it all, at least for a few moments. But after going through all this self-analysis, my conclusion, I need to reunite with my past self, with my current into a better version who will make you proud. And please, when I fail, will you tell me? You have the absolute right to cuss me out, if need be, when I deserve it. Why does Wuthering Heights come to mind? Because no one knows or cares about me more. Thank you for always being there for me. I'll never forget when you made that promise to me after losing my dad, and I know how happy he is right now that I did get to go to Scotland and Ireland, as he always wanted for me, to modify a classic. I could have parted with you to anyone less worthy, and I will add, it is I who is unworthy. Always, Natalie. P.S. My hands looked worse in Scotland and Ireland because the cold turns the old scars purple. Still on the road to recovery. I don't want to be there when he's cussing her out. Not really. Oh, somebody likes to cuss me out, though. My number one hater.
Next message. Shame on you, Rick Walker. Shame on you, you of all people. Shame on you, Rick Walker. Shame on you. Shame on you, Rick Walker. Shame on you. 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 Shame on you.
The number you have reached is not in service.
And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made.
I'm absolutely disgusted what you did on Saturday night. You're a liberal piece of shit. Shame on you. Shame on you. You're a disgusting individual.
Hello?
Just remember, Rick, you're the one that didn't come to the ostrich farm. You never got off your ass when I was there.
And as you talk to us for one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one.
the taboo man that you are.
362015.
You're a liberal piece of shit.
This is a record.
I don't know. Your show is absolutely disgusting. You should get some help because you have really severe TDS as well. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with you. You have really severe TDS.
For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives.
Your show is strictly war and Trump.
Evan, are you through? Waiting.
TDS. Your show is absolutely disgusting. Just disgusting.
Okay, thank you.
You should be shut down. Just disgusting.
The number you have reached is not in service. This is a recording.
Sucks to be me. Just yeah. Oh my. Oh. Triggered or what? Oh my God. Trust me, that's just one of many messages. Oh. So, moving on. Oh, I should mention that probably should have done this off the beginning of the program or save it to the end, but no, can't do that tonight. Maureen phoned and wanted me to say hi to everybody. And as you know, Maureen in the chat, one of our Maverick family, and is in the hospital because she had a heart attack. So she's out in BC, and they will soon be moving her to hospital in Vancouver, and they will be operating. And it's not clear yet exactly what they'll be doing. So just have to say my thoughts are with Maureen. I'm sure that yours are as well tonight. We all wish her well and a speedy recovery. And, she was in pretty good spirits today. But of course, I mean, it's a very scary thing, right? Heart attack. So just thinking about Maureen, thought I'd just update you on that. And we'll continue to keep you posted in the days ahead as she takes that journey. And we'll be there with her.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
All right. Into the realm of conspiracy theory / becoming reality. Science fiction becoming science fact. Are you aware of this new Neuralink technology for visual repair, curing blindness? I had some notes made up here. See if I can find them for you. This kind of came to the forefront around 2024, if I remember right. And I don't have my notes, just from memory. So this is all part of Neuralink. The technology, I think, first announced in 2024. And then they started doing experiments on, they've been doing experiments on animals. Here's their website, though, for this visual prosthesis. And it's also, so you've got two kinds of technologies in play here with Elon Musk. Well, three really, I guess. Sort of, so it's like Neuralink, and then you've got this new technology to make even people who are born without vision, to give them sight. And then there's this, what they're calling it, it's like telepathy technology, is what they're referring to it as. And this is the site you can go to if you want to participate in the human trials, Neuralink for visual prosthesis. So it was about 6 months ago when Elon Musk went on social media and said that they are ready to take this technology to human trials. And those trials, I think, if approved, still not approved tonight, but I've just zeroed in on this because it's all connected to the AI boom and the throw caution to the wind mentality out there. But it was 6 months ago, he said that within about 6 months, they would be ready to go to human trials. I think it was actually longer ago than that. And so we're past that, still not at the stage of human trials. And actually, I think I've got the clip of him saying it here. I queued it up earlier. So I'm going to run that for you. And what they do is they have these tiny little implants they can put in behind the eye. And then, of course, they're connecting that to your nervous system, into your brain. And then they can send signals to your brain in order to allow you to see. But it's also wireless technology. The telepathy technology is about controlling things just with your mind. I think it's based on radio waves, frequencies, but it reminds me of the Star Trek episode, like the first pilot episode. I don't think it wasn't the menagerie. It was the one where, because Kirk, no, not the menagerie. It's the one where they get zapped by the energy, and then they develop the superpowers where they can move objects through just using their minds. I'd have to look up the actual episode for you. You'd probably know the one I'm talking about, or maybe you're just not as nerdy as I am and as geeky. In any event, here is Elon Musk talking about this new technology. He says, later this year, we expect to do our first implant for what we call blind sight, where even if somebody has lost both eyes or lost the optic nerve, or they were blind at birth, we will give them initially limited vision over time, perhaps even superhuman vision. This is like X-Men type stuff, mutants, transhumans.
And then later this year, we expect to do our first implant for what we call blind sight, where even if somebody has lost both eyes or lost the optic nerve, or perhaps has not even been able to see, has never seen, even if they were blind at birth, it will give them initially limited vision, but I think over time, very precise vision, perhaps a superhuman vision. Restoring control of people who are tetraplegics, and restoring sight, I think, are pretty big deals. You know, those sort of what I might call like sort of Jesus level or sort of technologies. You know,
miracles.
Miracles, yes, exactly. I mean, miracles of science. Yeah. And then later.
Except, my God, this takes us into uncharted territory, doesn't it? All kinds of ethical questions that this raises. And literally what he's saying is this technology could give even blind people superhuman vision, where you would be able to see things that normal human beings who do not have this enhancement or modification or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, that normal humans can't see. Infrared, X-ray vision. They could potentially give you these abilities using this technology. The other thing that instantly comes to mind is who gets access to it? What are the ethics surrounding that? Will only those who can afford it get it? If you have a baby and your baby is blind, you can't afford it. Your child doesn't have access to it, can't get it. Or would government health care cover something like that? Where's the ethics? Where's the compassion? Where's the universality? Two totally different approaches to healthcare. Canadian healthcare system being criticized constantly right now on social media, on Fox News, on the pro-Trump media platforms, most of which I think, in fact, almost all of them at this point are controlled by Trump, because you've had changes in ownership since Trump has come into office, the threats against licensing coming from Trump, also putting the boot on the neck of the media largely. I think ABC pushing back somewhat, but even there's capitulation. This president who says he's the most transparent in history. In fact, he's, in a roundabout way, the most censorious, in that he is very controlling of the media while creating this facade of free speech. That's certainly what is going on in X, as Elon Musk continues to push forward with Neuralink technology, pushing, this AI revolution. All of the big tech bros involved in that. This technology as well. Like, who would qualify for blind sight implants? It's always the ethical question, though. But then there are just all these other questions. And should we be afraid of people who have superhuman technologies, vision? What advantages would that give them in the workplace? And could you compete? Could you keep up? Now suddenly you're competing with transhuman people, robots, robot people, androids, replicants, whatever we become. What's alive, what isn't? Is AI sentient, conscious? Is it part of consciousness? My view is that zeros and ones can't be conscious, but if you're combining a human being who is conscious with a hive matrix mind, maybe the consciousness, the collective consciousness, becomes ours. Deep questions, a lot of ethical questions, regulatory issues, and there are none. There are very few. I mean, they're holding this back, but look how fast this is happening. They'll be going to human trials very soon. And that's the other thing. It's like, well, who do you try this on? You go to their website and you can sign up. Well, who gets to sign up? Generally speaking, only the disabled at this point are being used for these kinds of trials, because I think under FDA rules, only people who have disabilities are being accepted for these trials. We have received FDA breakthrough device designation for blind sight. This accelerates our path towards helping restore visual perception to those who have lost the ability to see. Join our patient registry to be informed when we launch trials in the United States for visual prosthesis. If you or someone you love is interested in learning more about Neuralink's clinical trials, we encourage you to join our patient registry. How it works during normal vision, the retina at the back of the eye converts light into electrical signals, which the brain processes and interprets to create our perception of the visual world. Various conditions, such as injury or disease affecting the eyes or optic nerves, can disrupt this complex process, resulting in loss of visual function and often total blindness. At Neuralink, we are developing a capability called blind sight to generate visual perception by activating brain areas responsible for visual function. Bypassing the natural eye-to-brain pathway, blind sight uses a video camera to capture images of one's surroundings or loved ones and wirelessly transmits them to the brain via our specialized implant. So that gives you a basic explanation. People go, it's like people are amazed for some reason to see that human beings and living things create energy fields. I don't know why that surprises people, because there's energy in all matter, including living matter. That's us. And because we're alive, we generate heat because we're burning, basically, right? There's friction inside of us and energy being expelled. So that gives off heat. That's why you got to eat. Got to heat if you're going to generate the heat, baby. Just ask Natalie. She got to be looking hot for the man, and she keeps forgetting to eat. But, everything absorbs energy from the sun, which expels energy after the fusion energy process. And nuclear power, that's the result of splitting atoms and releasing massive amounts of energy from small amounts of matter, because small amounts of matter, and depending on the kind of matter, contain massive amounts of energy. And when it's released, you get a nuclear explosion. And now fusion power, the next evolution of that. And that's getting more power from something than you put in. And they say they've solved that riddle, although I have yet to see actual practical application of that in the real world. I'm skeptical of what they're claiming. I don't know how you get more out of something than what is. If that's true, they must be pulling it from another dimension. I don't know where you get more of something than actually exists. But I'm always open to new ideas. They say they've got that solved. But I guess fusion power, it gives off energy. But anyway, I don't want to get into all that tonight. I'm just saying that this new Neuralink technology is taking us down some new paths. Blind sight. I also, just by chance, as I was getting ready for tonight's broadcast, came across a Google listing for this novel, Blind Sight. Is it connected? Is this a part of the big conspiracy surrounding blind sight technology and telepathic technology, which Musk is talking about here as well? The ability for people to control things just with their mind, even sort of remotely, but you'd have to have a receiver on the other side, right? Blind Sight. Blind Sight is a hard science fiction novel by Canadian writer Peter Watts, published by Tor Books in 2006. It won an award for Best Novel in Japanese Translation. Nominated for a Hugo Award, Best Novel. It goes on. Story follows a crew of astronauts sent to investigate a trans-Neptunian comet dubbed Burns Caulfield that has been found to be transmitting an unidentified radio signal, followed by their subsequent first contact. The novel explores themes of identity, consciousness, free will, artificial intelligence, neurology, and game theory, as well as evolution and biology. Blindset is available online under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial Share Alike. Listen, I'm going to have to read this. I wasn't even aware of this book. Plot: in the year 2082, tens of thousands of coordinated comet-like objects of an unknown origin, dubbed fireflies, burn up in the Earth's atmosphere in a precise grid. I think he's already off by many years. I think all this is going to be happening much sooner. Maybe tomorrow. While momentarily broadcasting across an immense portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, catching humanity off guard and alerting it to an undeniable extraterrestrial presence. As if that doesn't already exist, man. It is suspected that the entire planet is being surveyed in one effective sweep. Despite the magnitude of this firefall, human politics soon returned to normal. Soon afterwards, a comet surveying satellite stumbles across a radio transmission originating from a comet subsequently named Burns-Caulfield. This tight beam broadcast is directed to an unknown location and, in fact, does not intersect the Earth at any point, as this is the first opportunity to learn more about the extraterrestrials. 3 waves of ships are sent out. The first being lightweight probes shot out for an as soon as possible flyby of the comet, then a wave of heavier but better equipped probes, and finally a crewed ship, the Theseus. And it goes on. I might have to read this book. It seems to have it all, doesn't it? But is it yesterday's science fiction becoming today's science fact? Looks like maybe some of it's already come true. Predictive programming, predictive publishing. Well, it's pretty clear what Elon Musk wants. He wants to create a bunch of superhumans, right? Transhumans. That's what struck me the other day about what Pete Hegseth was saying too. He was mocking transgender people when he was making a speech someplace. I didn't run the clip. That triggered some people who said that it was disrespectful, of course. And then he just went to town after making the comment and being questioned about it, I guess, is saying that they don't care that the military is gone anti-woke. I'm paraphrasing, because they only want, and this was something that struck me, they only want the best. They don't care if you're a woman. They don't care if you're a man. They don't care. They just want the best. But then I thought, that's not true. You do care who, because there's certain kinds of people you don't want, and yet you want them. It's like a double-sided message. They only want the best. That's why he's jacking up his soldiers on testosterone. That's why, I think they're also, through all of these AI developments and these data centers, and this Neuralink technology, you know what I think they're doing? Just me, conspiracy theory. They're getting ready. They're starting the process of creating an army of super soldiers using transhumanism, drug hormone therapy, and jacking people into the matrix to make them super smart, give them super sight, give them super strength, and maybe even set it up so that the Pentagon, the government, somebody has total control. Human drones, transhuman drones, as we move toward this, well, we're already there, aren't we? Transformed warfare, where drones are the dominant weapons in play now. We're already there, man. It's a Terminator coming to life. Scary as hell. But hey, just throw caution to the wind. Let's just keep building these data centers because it's just so we can make memes, right? No, it's not. It's so that Musk can control elections. It's so that the government can develop the most powerful military on earth, and they need to do it before the other guys do. It's a giant race. It's the new arms race. And it affects every level of our society. It's going to affect you, and pretty soon you may well be obsolete. How are you going to compete for a job when the transhuman next to you has superhuman vision, can see through walls, can see in the dark with infrared vision? There you go. And this is the other thing. This phrase, I was thinking about it today. This actually really bothers me now. When people say, "Are you awake? Are you woke, or are you awake? Are you waking up?" What does that even mean? What's that going to mean as we move toward this transhuman future? You'll only be awake if you're jacked into the matrix? Are you awake now? Are you awake? You're only awake if you're aware. You're only aware if you have the information. Information is power. You could argue that information forms the foundation, at least one of the keystones or cornerstones of consciousness. And if everybody else has access to massive amounts of information, knowledge, instantly, on demand, and you don't, how are you going to survive? How are any of us going to survive? It's like competition. Only the fittest, only the strongest will survive in Pete Hegseth's future, in Donald Trump's future.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And I told you the rhetoric on coming from Trump and the MAGA sphere heading into these midterms, they're ramping up the anti-commie language in a really serious way. I'm not the only one who has noticed. NBC posting this story and actually putting some numbers to it, some stats. Trump attacks Democrats as communists, that's the headline, while acquiring government stakes in private companies. Yeah, except the thing is, though, Trump has called his political opponents communists more than 100 times in the past 2 months. 100 times. It's real. And this is a quote. This is what he said. Communism is a bigger threat than World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, and 9/11 combined. So he's done all that, said all that. And while he's done that, he's been taking ownership stakes in dozens of private companies, big corporations, chip makers, tech companies, you name it. He's got 30 different deals, I think, now, where the government is now become a shareholder in these companies. That is not free market capitalism. That is socialism, nationalism. He's not partially nationalizing these companies. It runs contrary to what like a Ronald Reagan would have done. Some would say it's economic fascism, which is a form of socialism. That's like corporate welfare. That's government handouts and government control and company control of government back and forth, working symbiotically. And it ain't just the free market that's rigging everything, man. If you think that, like, again, Trump, you could almost say that it goes beyond socialism. You might say it's fascism. I call it communo-fascism because it's not pure. It's a combo, what he's doing. He's using a variety of different tools and taking a variety of approaches, but not much of any of it is actually aimed at free market economics. Even his tax cuts, that's all window dressing, because the tax cuts are BS. Why do I say it? Because he's cut tax on tips temporarily. He has, he says that he's cut taxes here and taxes there, and they've got the one big beautiful bill, but all those taxes that he's cut, okay, fair enough, but jobs are under pressure. And then on top of that, not only has he cut taxes to some degree for the middle class and the lower middle class, doesn't matter if he cuts taxes if you don't have a job, right? But what he's also done is he's cut social programs dramatically, especially for the most vulnerable and the poorest. And for the middle class too. A lot of programs just cut. That's all gone. Can't afford to do that. Remember the speech he gave where he said, we've got these wars we're fighting. We can't afford to fund these social programs for you. That's all to be done at the state level. And he's made cuts to healthcare because he doesn't want any socialized healthcare anyway. But you know what hasn't ended? The handouts to the big corporations. Coming back on the other side, he's demanding partial ownership now of some of these big companies. We've seen him talking about it in these meetings. This is not free market capitalism. It's a hybrid form of economic socialism, fascism, communism. That's why some people, including what's his name, Jackson Hinkle, he's been going around for a long time saying that, he's an advocate for MAGA communism. He's selling you guys a bill of goods, man. I'm telling you, if you think he's a conservative and you're a conservative, he's not acting like a conservative at all. It's all on display right here. Just don't judge him by what he pretends to say. You can't judge that at all because he lies and exaggerates. Judge him on what he's actually doing. Crying out loud. Even though the like I said, the whole thing with the chips and Taiwan and the 100% tariffs, it's all not true. Partially true, not really true. We're not 100% tariffs. It's like 15. Bring the try. And now that they've had to pull that aircraft carrier out of Asia and send it to relieve the Abraham Lincoln because its tour of duty extended far too long, huge problems there that they've tried to cover up. It's being relieved now. But what's left to defend Taiwan if China now chooses to invade? I kind of wonder sometimes if Trump is on the other side. It's that bizarre, the stuff that he's doing and the impact that it has. All of this crazy tariff stuff, it's driving the traditional allies of the United States into the arms, the wide open and waiting arms of China. I've said Trump is pro-China several times because his policies benefit China. Is it still no deal or do we have a deal? Let me check. No, negotiators still working until the last minute. So the update just a minute ago. This just LeBlanc saying that they have more work to do still, and we're going to continue work up until the last minute, saying our job is not finished. Canadian workers, Canadian businesses expect us to do all of this important work. I only make good deals, said Donald Trump. This is already a bad deal. It doesn't even matter if he gets a good deal. It's a bad deal because trust has been undermined. Investment. And that's driving investment out of the United States. And he's not paying enough attention to a lot of the really serious things, which again makes me wonder sometimes if he's on the other side, maybe even on Iran's side. I wonder how much of this crap going on over there is performative. That's a conspiracy theory that I'm sharing with you right there. But I do scratch my head and look at it and I go, really? This does not help the United States at all. This excursion / it's a war against Iran, making me wonder what the hell's going on. Plus, he cut the funding to the security teams that were tasked with the job of keeping the United States safe from cyber attacks. Here tonight, the Center for Strategic and International Studies highlighting this whole mapping Iranian cyber attacks on U.S. water systems article coming out. I mean, this is basically like a think tank for politics, geopolitics, military matters. In late July, it says Minnesota authorities disclosed that hackers had attacked not one or two water systems, but more than 30 across the state. The following weeks saw additional revelations in other states. Officials are beginning to understand the scope of what is likely an Iranian cyber campaign months in the making. Although the U.S. government has not publicly attributed the attacks, an Iranian actor linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, known as the Cyber Avengers, has claimed responsibility, stating their intention was to warn America to back down. When all this happened, you may recall that, this resulted in alarm bells being rung by many. Trump turned around and said he wasn't worried about Iran with regard to these attacks. He's worried about, he started pointing the finger at Democrats. It's like he didn't care. This is the water supply. Highlights real serious vulnerabilities in the United States. It talks about national security, uses that as an excuse to impose all kinds of tariffs on all kinds of countries. And that's what it is, an excuse. But in this case, this is a national security issue. These are the areas that were attacked, highlighted there on that map. That's serious stuff. That's people's health. That's, you need a stable water supply to keep people alive and to to secure your country. Talking about securing the borders. Better secure that damn water supply. But the borders are vulnerable because they are porous in this digital environment. And he cut the budget for the very programs that were designed to protect the country from exactly that stuff. CSIS picking up on it, not Canadian CSIS. This is the Center for Strategic International Studies. They examine all these things. They have a lot of their conferences and stuff. It's posted online. You can go see stuff on their channel, and they talk about a lot of these geopolitical and military issues. I do watch from time to time because that's like top level information, not a bunch of bull crap. These are the real people who have influence over government and really look at these issues. Am I missing anything before we go to Maverick Midnight Matinee? I think we're pretty much about there. Oh yeah, here was this one. I forgot. But I did take note of it overnight. Speaking of censorship, AI, information warfare, media ownership, stars and stripes, right? The paper's editor-in-chief, the publisher, Max Lederer, and editor-in-chief, Eric Slavin. They've been turfed, or I think actually Lederer is resigning, but has made it clear it's because of Pete Hegseth and a difference in opinion on how the publication should be run. And this is really coming in the wake, I think, because it looks like the story about the USS Abraham Lincoln and the problems there, the extended stay, the food issues, supplying the ship, supplies running short, not even adequate food, they don't have enough even toilet bowl cleaner to clean the washrooms, things like that, and mental health issues because of the stress on board. It was broken. Story broke by the Stars and Stripes. But some would think that the Stars and Stripes is just supposed to be a propaganda rag for the U.S. military, but it really, I think, is more than that. And they do have some journalistic standards there. Looks like the publisher at odds with Pete Hegseth. The publisher, I think, had been there 20 some years. Don't quote me on that, but a long time. Now retiring, but making it clear it wasn't really because he wanted to retire. It's because of this stuff. Ominous music. But yeah, there's Hegseth at the center of the censorship thing. This is not the most transparent administration in history. Quite the opposite. Master in mind manipulation, information warfare, post-truth, a post-truth reality. That's what we've got. It's very much, I think, reminiscent or similar to what was going on in the old Soviet Union. Maybe to some degree, even still what happens in Russia today. And I think we're getting the same thing over here now. Maybe we always had it and just weren't fully aware, because maybe we're just waking up, or maybe we're being hypnotized. Yeah, by the communist in the White House, who has been accusing his political opponents of being communists, equating socialism to communism, using that trigger word, which has been fed to us in a way to condition us to find just the word communism extremely distasteful, which I do. But waking up also over many years to realize that we're being fed propaganda as much as people in communist countries are being fed propaganda. And now that's at a fever pitch. And the word communism being used by Trump to mobilize voters to help protect the narrow Republican congressional majority that he has. And reports coming out tonight that he's got some huge fund set aside that he's going to use to basically try to buy the midterms. So I'm not exactly sure how that all plays out, but stories coming out tonight with regard to that. So keep your eyes and ears open. At the same time, the administration, while accusing the Democrats of being communists, pursuing deals that give the federal government equity stakes, options, special golden shares in firms and sectors, including semiconductors. Most notably, I think the company is Intel involved in that. Government share now in Intel. Government has a share in some mining companies, steel industry, U.S. Steel, which was a company, honestly, that became uncompetitive because the owners were milking it dry, never properly reinvested in technology, getting left behind even in Canadian steel industry, investing in new technology using cleaner energy and even electricity instead of the old technology, which is dirtier and less efficient and produces an inferior product. But anyway, government also taking a share in Westinghouse, nuclear energy there, and a bunch of other industries, 30 some different deals, all of the moves being framed as national security measures to reduce reliance on China and support domestic production, while at the same time the tariff policies are forcing U.S. allies into the open arms of China. It's all counterproductive. And all these actions, in some cases, drawing criticism from actual Republicans and maybe some of the few remaining true conservatives out there who have been arguing that the party should not abandon traditional free market principles limiting government's role in the economy. Democrats and other critics pointing to it all and pointing out the irony in these communist comments and communist attacks, the communist rhetoric coming from the president and those around him and the magosphere. Well, the government takes these equity stakes in these private companies, big corporations. So the government owning things and controlling it all at the same time. But, they'd freak out if they freaked out when Libya nationalized its oil industry, right? And where's Gaddafi now? But Trump gets a pass. Always gets a pass. Because he can do anything he wants. Because he's the ruler of the world, the king of the world. Oh, speaking of kings. Who is a king? Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, yeah, baby. Let me show you. Oh, I ain't kidding. I mean, he's the king of kings, that guy. He's such a big king. Maybe I didn't get the photo. I can bring it up, but it's okay. I'm going to show you. Have you seen what he's bought? He bought a castle. I'll just bring it up over here. I almost forgot to mention it. Yeah, he bought this 19th century Gothic style castle, overlooks a river in the southeast of Ireland. It's about 200 kilometers from Meta's European headquarters. So there's footage of it out there. drone footage, actually. Might be able to get you the video here. Massive castle. And he bought this thing for, I don't know, 20 million or something like that. Here we go. Let's take a look. Let's get you the pics of Zuckerbuck's new digs. Does he have his own flying space dildo? No, he bought a castle instead. He's much more practical. Yeah, way more practical. He's not like Jeff Bezos who just blows his money on stupid stuff. Here. Zuckerbuck says about a 19th century Gothic style castle in Ireland, it says in the caption. It is 200 kilometers from his company's European headquarters, a spokesman said yesterday. Strancali Castle was built around 1830, overlooking the River Blackwater. The castle underwent extensive renovation in 2003, according to a state architectural archive. The transaction is not listed on the Irish State Property Price Register. The Irish Times estimates it's worth between £20 million and £30 million. Ah, chump change. Boy, I don't know. He better get himself a riding lawnmower. That's a lot of grass to cut. What do you do with a castle? What's he going to do with it? Well, he's the king of his own castle now. I don't know. I'm worried. Makes me even worrieder than I was before. Are you ready for Maverick Midnight Matinee, folks? Hold on to your undergotchis. Tonight's feature presentation involves a robot that becomes conscious. I'll give you the details when we come back on the other side of this.
Maverick News. The new wave in news. Donate at maverickthenations.com. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Let me just check again. Let me see. Any update? Do we have a deal? Do we have a deal? No. No, not yet. It's now 9:27 p.m. Eastern. The 50% tariffs loom. The death tariffs. 12:01 a.m. 12:01 a.m. So let's move on to Maverick Midnight Matinee. We'll run the movie. That'll get us closer to the deadline. And then even after the movie, I will update what is going on with the tariff talks. If we get a deal, don't get a deal. Deal or no deal. Let's deal a meal. And we may all be starving to death if Trump gets his way and takes all the Kanakistanian jobs, moves them all to the United States and says, screw you, Mark Carney, you commie. But the hell, who knows? Maybe Trump can produce so much, increase GDP so much using AI and robotics that he'll save America. Maybe Canada can do the same thing. I don't know. All I know is tonight's movie on Maverick Midnight Matinee, Tobor the Great, a slice of pure atomic age wonder from 1954 about a robot and consciousness. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I personally have never seen the flick, but I was aware of it. So I thought, 2 weeks ago, I thought, we got to run this movie. I got to watch it. Haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to watch it with you tonight for the first time. So stay with me. We're going to make the adjustment, do the flip, go to the flip side, and we're going to get into Maverick Midnight Matinee. But if you're watching on YouTube, you got to jump off there. Go to one of our other platforms, Rumble, best one, I think, for you to come and join the chat, join the program, and watch Maverick Midnight Matinee. Or you can go to BitChute. We're on a bunch of others as well. So you can watch over there. But the YouTube feed, my friends, is about to end. So here we go. I'm going to start setting it up. And then Maverick Midnight Matinee begins right after this.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick